Okay, so this is my reading task 1 from the poetry unit. This is my rationale, and it says, this reading task addresses part 4 of the course, Literature. I've written a poem before the scene described in Standing Female Nude by Caroline Ann Duffy, which analyzes elements such as theme, explores literary work, and understands the use of its literary terms. I've decided to focus on this poem because it is one I fully understand and enjoy reading. By writing this piece, I'm exploring themes such as loss of identity, gender differences, and inequality. This text type is developing the characterization of Duffy and her interior thoughts of the poem. Although the character in the actual poem is portrayed as a powerful woman, I chose to do the opposite and show her as if she's worth nothing. This is because although she seems dominant and strong when standing naked in front of the artist, when she's not in that situation, all her strength vanishes and she becomes this weak, devastated woman, which she calls a river whore. Some authorial choices I've made are using the same internal dialogue that Duffy uses in her writing through internal monologues of the main character. I've also tried to develop Duffy's feminist perspective. The main character sees herself for what she really is, while the artist sees her as an object. Throughout my writing, I'm giving the character more sensibility and humiliation towards her actions in order to show her personality. I'm also including the enjambment throughout the lines in the stanzas to create long pauses as Duffy does in her actual poem. In addition, to create a similar structure of Duffy's poem as well, I've also added some similar lines of the poem itself in my writing, which are lines 1, 3, 7, 9, 26, and 28. Lastly, stylistic features such as metaphors, similes, personification, anaphras, and poesy in the tone are also included in my writing. Well, something I wanted to ask you about my rationale is that, I don't know if you remember, but you told me to do my poem, to create my poem as if the main character of the poem, the standing female nude, to show her as if she's actually powerful, she feels confident and has a lot of strength, as standing naked in front of a stranger is something that you need to feel confident. So that makes the character seem as a more powerful woman. But in this case, I wanted to show the opposite, and I wanted to show her as a weak, devastated woman, as I mentioned in my rationale, because as I said, I feel that when she's not in this situation, all her strength vanishes, and she becomes this river whore, as I describe her, as Duffy also describes her in the poem. So I don't know if the way I explain it in my rationale is it clear. And then I also wanted to ask you, I'm also developing Duffy's feminist perspective throughout my poem. I'm saying that the main character sees herself for what she really is, while the artist sees her as an object. Is it also clear how I'm showing Duffy's feminist perspective? And then I also wanted to ask you if enjambment is the correct word to describe long pauses throughout the lines in the stanzas. And then going to my actual poem, a question I have is that well, does it make sense to to say that poverty is silently killing the main character? Because as I'm saying, she's like feeling devastated, she's feeling less powerful, she has no energy, no strength, all her dignity is going. Therefore, she's feeling lighter and her bones are bulging out from her body, as I'm mentioning. Does it make sense to say, to include this in my poem? And then, well, here I'm describing her as as a prostitute, as she's dancing and drinking wine, as the actual poem does as well. And then here I'm saying, today he will at least accept to focus on my painting only and not on my body. Is it clear that here I'm talking about the artist, that the main character is actually going to the artist's house, and then I start mentioning the I don't state the word artist, but it is like I don't know if it's clear that I'm talking about him, so I wanted to ask you that too. And then finally, I end with 6 hours like this for a few friends, which is the sentence that Duffy uses to start her poem. So is it also a good idea to finish my poem with the first line in the actual poem, as well as my poem is actually another like a poem before the actual poem. So that's all.